My name is John Dodson. I'm an urban farmer in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm for the soil because without healthy soil, there's no healthy food. With no healthy food, there's no healthy life.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of For the Soil, a conversation. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii, and joining me, Mary Sketch Bryant with the Virginia Soil Health Coalition and Eric Benfelt with Virginia Cooperative Extension, Community Viability. And guys, before we introduced our returning guest this week, I would like to say, first of all, thank you to everyone involved with the recently conducted Virginia Farm to Table Conference at Weirs Cave, Virginia. What a great couple of days, a couple of days of networking and education about what we do to encourage soil health and also to encourage agriculture here in our region. Now, Eric, would you reintroduce our returning guests?
Yes, Jeff, and very pleased to have Maureen McNamara Best of Local Environmental Agriculture Project, and she's also worked with the Virginia Food System Councils, and joining her was Mo McGonagle with the Roanoke Foodshed Network, and both Maureen and Mo have been involved with sort of the idea and concept is of food as medicine. I think Mo was involved with a pharmacy garden in the Christiansburg area, and then I think Maureen has helped with a prescription program in the Roanoke Valley region. So we welcome them back to sort of explore this idea of food as medicine and connection to the soil. Welcome, Maureen and Mo.
I'd like to hear more about this pharmacy garden. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that was a program that I ran when I was living in the New River Valley. This is Mo McGonagle here. And it was a really innovative take on produce prescription programs. I worked as a garden coordinator for the New River Health District, and we had a collective community garden that was sandwiched between the health department and the New River Valley Community Health Center. And we had a great collaboration where clinicians at the health center would write prescriptions for people to actually participate in the garden and engage in the production of fresh fruits and vegetables as part of their medical approach to healing. So, they could have any kinds of conditions from, diet-related illness or maybe mental health challenges. And so I would meet with them in the garden, and then they'd get a chance to actually get their hands in the dirt and learn about gardening. And one of the biggest outcomes that I saw from that program was really just the role in supporting mental health challenges in particular that gardening played, kind of weaving them back into community, providing them with an opportunity to engage with other people and have somebody to talk to. So it's a really beautiful program started by the New River Health District.
And Maureen Best, there's a question I have for you about a special program. I believe I read online that one of the farmers markets that you're involved with, well, of course, when we think of healthy soil, we think of healthy people, healthy kids. I understand that one of the programs at the farmers market that you're associated with, you give away fruits and vegetables to children. Is that correct?
Yeah, so LEAP, we started working initially with people who participate in the SNAP Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program that's income-based, and anyone who accepts, at the farmers markets, someone who has SNAP, they would run their card, and then if they run it for $10, they would get an extra $10. So we would match it 1-for-1. And so LEAP started doing that in 2011, 2012. And within a couple of years, what we really found in talking to people is that not everybody qualifies for SNAP, and they might still have financial limitations or limited food budgets where they can't choose fruits and vegetables. And so then we started working with people who participate in Medicaid. And so we also have the same program. Anyone who's on Medicaid or on WIC, because they're income eligible, it's easier for us to say, okay, you have Medicaid or WIC, it's half off of fruits and vegetables. And then we also work with low-income seniors and have vouchers for every single week. The mobile market visits these low-income senior housing sites, and they have $6.50 to purchase whatever fruits and vegetables. And we have some local eggs and bread and milk to help make it more accessible, because food is, they might have to take a bus or get a ride, and so we're coming every single week. And then another program that we have that you mentioned, Jeff, is the Kids Bucks program. So in the same way, how do we take some of the pressure off of a family food budget and allow the kids to try new foods that maybe the parents would be like, oh, they won't, they've never had that before, they may not like it. So at the West End Farmers Market, any kids come and they get $5 that they take, they have to choose what they want. It doesn't go to the parents, it goes to the kids. And so you can just see how the kids, they get more comfortable asking about food, they'll try food, they'll talk to the vendors, they'll ask, what is this, how does this grow? And it's every week. So you see the same families who are coming multiple times a month, and they're really building relationships, they're exploring new tastes that a family may not be able to afford otherwise. And also, I think thinking about dignity and choice, if a kid is choosing it, it's different than if it is showing up on a table. So how do you have that active engagement? Have the active engagement in food? How do you have the active engagement in, like, this is what tastes good to my body, and this is what I want to eat? And so in all of these situations, a lot of the relationship building is in those conversations between, different people who are at a market, or between, market shopper and a market vendor. And that's where a lot of the learning and the behavior change happens. And then we do have a prescription program that we've been running in partnership with Grilling Clinic and New Horizons for, we ran it for about 6 years with the mobile market. We took a pause, we redesigned it, and then we're going to relaunch it this year. And so the participants who have Medicaid, they'll all be Medicaid participants at clinics. And then if they have a diet-related disease, then they can participate for 6 months, and they can go to the Roanoke Food Co-op, they can go to the Salem Farmers Market, the Downtown Farmers Market, the Leap's Markets, Leap Mobile Market, the store. So really looking at food as medicine, but also looking at community health and looking at how do we support local farmers and local food-based businesses. And so it's like the big picture health, not just individual health. And so I think it's exciting and it's beautiful, and because we have some, we can handle some of the back end, that it makes it possible, because a lot of the interest in food as medicine is going towards large corporate grocery stores, which are important, and they may not necessarily be reinvesting in the community and the farmers and the soil in more sustainable production practices. And so how can we show that this is possible at a community scale?
Going off of that access piece, is there also, does LEAP and the Foodshed Network have an educational component, how to, I guess, on both ends too, the educating producers on marketing avenues and consumers on, what do you do with this produce? Yes, now you have access to healthy fruits and veggies. How do you cook it? What does that mean?
I would say one of the beautiful things about bringing people together in collaboration is that organizations with more of a focus on education can come together with service providers, technical assistance providers, infrastructure providers, and then stack functions. So one of the things that the Healthy Food Access Working Group of the Roanoke Foodshed Network has really focused on is kind of sharing services. So as an example of that, the Leap Mobile Market goes out to a lot of different neighborhoods across Roanoke City. And one of the things that they'll do is actually bring in other service providers to be available at the same time to those residents. And those could include education providers. So Virginia Cooperative Extension, SNAP Ed, has come out and done cooking demonstrations and handed out recipes and that sort of thing. One of the other things we're looking at moving into the future is a collective marketing campaign for regional food and farming systems that really takes a systems approach and begins to show more visible the connections and collaborations that are happening as a way to educate the public, not just about food and farming, but about all the interrelations from soil to plate.
And Maureen and Mo, I've sort of going off this idea as food is medicine or food is medicine. I was noticing a fairly recent blog post called Soil Health is Your Health, and it featured Brent and Ann Wills of Bramble Hollow Farm. I'm interested in learning or what you're hearing and learning from farmers in the Roanoke Valley region and Foodshed.
Yeah, I would say that there are a number of farmers who have explicitly chosen to grow and partner with the programs, especially the food access programs that LEAP is running, because they have values of how do we get good, high quality, nutrient dense food into the communities that need it the most. And they may not have the time, capacity, relationships to be in those spaces. So what does partnership look like? How can we work together? And one just beautiful story that I love, the LEAP Mobile Market. For a number of years, we've been going to a neighborhood apartment complex where there's a lot of refugees who are resettled there, and there's a large Afghani population. And so there, we worked with Blue Ridge Literacy to help us be welcomed and understood and present there. And then, over time, the families felt comfortable asking, do you have, say, Malabar spinach, or where's okra? We can't find okra anywhere. And we were able to connect explicitly in this example with Cameron Terry of Garden Variety Harvest and say, are you willing to grow this specific variety of spinach for this community that this is the variety that they like? And he's like, sure, I'll try it. We'll figure this out. And so then we were able to provide Malabar spinach to this community because it is about relationships, and it is about like how food can serve as medicine in a wide range of ways. And then also how can, a diversified agriculture meet the wide range of needs for a community, and also the wide range of needs for a farm, looking at it from a diversity perspective. It can be mutually beneficial throughout the whole system.
We're talking today with Mo McGonagle with the Roanoke Foodshed Network, and also Maureen McNamara Best. She is with an organization called LEAP, L-E-A-P, Local Environmental Agriculture Projects. We've got just about 3 or 4 minutes remaining in this episode. I wanted to remind our listeners of your websites. First of all, there's leapforlocalfood.org, and then there is also Roanoke Foodshed Network.org. Those are 2 very well done websites and a lot of information there about your various organizations. My final question, what kind of trends are you seeing specifically in farmers markets? Are there trends that you're seeing with the producers? Are there trends you're seeing with consumers about the items that farmers are selling at markets? Mo, let's get your response first to that. What kind of trends are you seeing at the market?
Maureen might be better positioned to answer this one, but I would say one of my roles within LEAP beyond the Roanoke Foodshed Network role is that I also served for a while as a regional lead for Virginia Fresh Match. And so I did get to work pretty closely with farmers markets across the region within that role. So Virginia Fresh Match is a statewide nutrition incentive network that provides matching funds for SNAP incentive programs at farmers markets and small community retail stores and farm stores and CSAs. And so I would say that that's been one of the trends that I've seen from a farmers market perspective is the growing the growing incentive programs offered not only at farmers markets across our region, but farmers markets across the whole state of Virginia. And that's largely because of Virginia Fresh Match and the capacity of the network to provide that funding to make fresh food more affordable for SNAP participants. So I'll pass it over to you, Maureen, to talk from the farmer perspective.
Maureen, what kind of trends are you seeing?
I think that the really wanting to have farmers markets be a welcoming space for people of a wide variety of incomes and also how they want to eat. I think you're continuing to see what that looks like. And as national trends change, you see that reflected also in a farmer's market. Like juice is more something people talk about. So then you'll see locally made juices. And so in some ways, farmers markets are a microcosm of the larger food system. In other ways, they're 10 steps ahead. And so what I really like to see is that season to season, week to week, that continues to shift and change. And I think people are getting more comfortable and excited and curious, both from the farmer side and the consumer side, is like, well, it's not always going to be exactly the same. And how do we lift that up as a benefit as opposed to that's a downside? Because there's a lot of things about farming and climate change that's probably going to get less predictable, that they're good years and bad years. And so it does feel like there's an opening and curiosity around what are new creative ways to use, to sell, to make things out of locally made products.
Mary or Eric, any final comments?
My only question would be for both of you, we always like to hear resources that our guests have. What are you learning from, getting inspiration from these days?
I really enjoy reading Civil Eats. I think they do a good job looking at food system and policy and community. And so I find a lot of nuggets in those articles, and I enjoy reading that.
And Mo?
I'll speak to two relevant books that I'm reading right now. I am finally, after many years, I've been wanting to read this book, but I'm reading Ken Meter's Community Food Web's book. And that's just a great example of examples across the country of weaving together disparate parts of the food system and the successes they've had. And then also I've really enjoyed lately reading Adrienne Marie Brown and some of her work with emergent strategies, and I'm drawing a blank on the book I'm reading right now, but basically how to build collectives and networks and support decentralized structures.
Unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you both so much for everything you do, not only in the agriculture community, but in your community in Southwest Virginia. We really appreciate what you do. Mo McGonagle with the Roanoke Foodshed Network, and Maureen McNamara Best with the Local Environmental Agriculture Project, commonly known as LEAP. Thank you so much for joining us, and Mary and Eric, we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Maureen and Mo.
For the Soil, a conversation is made possible with funding support from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and the Agua Fund. Other partners include the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia State University, Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, and partners of the Virginia Soil Health Coalition. Views expressed on this podcast are those of each individual guest. To download a copy of this or any other episode, visit the website forthesoil.org. If you should have a specific question about soil health, call your local extension office, your local USDA service center, or a Soil and Water Conservation District office. Music used during today's program was provided courtesy of The Flip Charts, all rights reserved. For the Soil, a conversation is produced by On the Farm Radio in collaboration with Virginia Tech. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii.